Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome, Gary. Hello there, Henry. How's everybody doing on a wet Wednesday? Hope everybody's doing good. Welcome to another edition. Hopefully everybody's staying nice and dry. Hello there, Kathy A. Welcome. What do you say there, Tracy? How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Grizz. How you doing, buddy?
Wonderful. Hello there, Denise. Welcome, Standing Stones. Everybody's starting to stock in. Nice to see everybody. So, Tracy, what do we got going on today?
We actually have a pretty good guest today. We got a guy named Michael John. He's an author. He's a co-host on some different Facebook and YouTube pages and YouTube media. Let's bring him on. He can tell us about himself.
Well, Michael, come on down. How you doing there?
Hello, gentlemen. This is, like I say in backstage, this is amazing. I don't get to be a guest. Usually I'm talking to guests. So this is a real opportunity and a real treat. So thank you very much for having me here.
Yeah, awesome. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming on. Hey, so we always kind of go through this at the beginning of this, just trying to get a background on the people that we have on. What drew you into this paranormal community?
Wow. Goes back to my lovely mother, Carol. When I was in single digit age, I'm almost 52. When I was about in single digit age, like 7, 8 years old, approximately, Mom always had, mediums come over, Ouija board parties, tarot reading parties, and my sister and I were told, take off, go play in the streets, go find something to do, So back in that day, we all had the rotary dial phone. And if you're rich, you had a nice 10-foot long cord. So, you could take off to like the third room up the hall kind of thing. So, we didn't have Facebook or internet. So Mom would get on the phone and share her stories, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times in a day. So I'd overhear that stuff, and that became the intrigue for me as I grew up. And then finally, how old was I? 19 years old. So my co-host on the Paranormal Voice, the talk show that I do, that I'm fortunate enough to be able to do, Dale Quigley, I've known him since 5th grade, and he's been through a lot of parallels and pivotal points in my life. We've just kind of been on this journey together, and here we are now. But so why I'm bringing that up, I finally got my hands on a Ouija board at about 19 years old. 20 years old. That was my first experience. And of course, he was there with me. I was with my first girlfriend. And so going back to hearing my mom, that had built up, pent up over all that time. And I finally pulled the trigger, if you will. And we got on the Ouija board. And what was interesting, my girlfriend at the time, as soon as the board started moving, she was like, I'm done. She tapped out, right? And then, so my partner, Dale, we got going, and we were, it was just simple stuff. How many spirits in the room? I believe the answer was 6. And then it started talking to Dale, saying it was a friend of his that had passed away tragically. This gentleman's name was Mike. And so Dale cut to the chase, like, if you're Mike, tell me the nickname that I called you. And if that thing doesn't spell M-I-C-K, which is Mick. And then Dale was like, oh, I'm done. That scared the bejesus out of him. But I'm the guy right out of the gate. And I'm sure a lot of people listening and watching right now, they get it when I say this. We want, as paranormal enthusiasts, however that resonates, you want to push that envelope as far as you can and then go past that.
Yeah. Right.
Because we're all addicted. And I'm a former drug addict. You know what I mean? 25 years of that. So there's that instant gratification, that rush. And the paranormal world, the paranormal realms, that's no different, man. So anyway, so he had tapped out, and I went on a bit of a quest with my Ouija board. It got to the point I was able to move that. Eventually, after a few months, I was able to move that planchette alone. I didn't need anybody. I became obsessed with it. I was at work thinking about questions. And this went on and on, That was the beginning of my journey anyways, to answer your question. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Cool. Now, you are a former independent level professional wrestler, aren't you?
Wow. Yes. That's a true story.
I did a little bit of studying up on you.
Nice.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So what exactly is, if you don't mind me asking, it's kind of outside the paranormal, what exactly is an independent level professional wrestler?
Okay. Well, so I'm short in stature. I'm only 5'4". I'm a little guy, but again, with Dale introduced me to Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper. It was WrestleMania 1. We met it, like I said, in grade 5, and he was always talking about wrestling. I'm like, what are you talking about? Hulk Hogan, this and that. You know what I mean? So I finally watched it. I fell in love the first time I saw it, and I knew I want to do that. I want to be that. Like it was, I just knew, you know what I mean? So I went on that journey for a long time. So anyways, I got into it. I 18 years old. I had my first match. I live in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. To give anybody out there an idea where this is, we're right across from Detroit, Michigan. We are a border city.
Oh, wow.
So I went up the road up north, up we call the 401. That's our big road, our big highway. You guys got 96 and 75 and this and that. That 401, that's all we got basically. Yeah. So I went up there a little bit for a summer at the age of 18, cut my teeth. I got in there, I got involved, started making some contacts. At 21 years old, I was really fortunate. I made my debut on World Wrestling Federation TV as a jobber. I was 170 pounds. I wrestled a gentleman by the name of Adam Baum for 3 minutes in Columbus, Ohio, in front of 18,000 people. I reached my dream right there, man. And after that, I got into a couple 5 years worth of Pro Wrestling Illustrated's top 500 wrestlers in the world. I mean, my head was going like that, as little as I am, man. It was amazing. I never got that contract or got the big spot, but I had to try out here and there. And I did a little bit with it. So, I mean, independent level means, yeah, I did it. Bottom line,
Yep.
Either way, I realized my dream. It's just, but that's what I would call myself as an independent level.
Well, if you look at it that way, anyway, like I do music, right? If I entertain one person, that's success to me, right? That's
yeah.
I'd love to have the accolades, the money, and the fame, and all that stuff, but And sorry, I got away from the paranormal. That just kind of interested me there.
Yeah. No, thanks for asking.
Yeah. So you've been in 6 paranormal documentaries.
Yes, sir.
Investigation team. And you, Grizzly is very familiar with the Waverly Hills Asylum.
Okay.
Would you mind speaking about that? What experiences did you have there with that particular documentary?
Okay. So back then I was with a group here in Windsor. We were basically the premier paranormal group in the city at the time. We had lucked out. We got a husband and wife, Andrew and Helen Patterson. Andrew grew up. He was just had a real fascination and passion for the macabre, for horror movies. So he was our videographer. He just combined that love into what we did. So that kind of helped us out in that respect. So Waverly Hills, I got to do it with my cousin as well, my cousin Tony. We were on, was it the second or third floor? No one else was in there. I don't know, probably about 3 a.m. And literally, 30 feet ahead of us down the hall, you could hear what sounded like metal cupboards or metal cabinets opening and closing. You could hear tools. And I thought for sure, and I said, is somebody up here screwing around with us? Pardon my French. It was amazing. You know what I mean? We did get a light anomaly on video. To the best I can recall, we did not get any EVPs. At one point, I know there's a black mass that was there. It did block out. There was an exit sign lit up. We did experience that as well, and we ran. Tony and I ran. That's the short version of things. I mean, it was a long time ago. That's the best I can tell you. Details, I would probably need a hypnosis regression to really help you out. But yeah, it was amazing just to pull up on that place in itself. It's an ominous building. I mean, that's a hotbed for hauntings. It's one of the top ones in the country, if you will, as far as I know, it still is. But just to be there, let's go back to dreams come true. They really do. That was something we had shot for, and we achieved it, and it was just really cool. There's a woman by the name of I don't know who owns it now. Her name was Tina Mattingly back then. A really nice red-haired older lady that owned it at the time, and that's who we dealt with to spend the night there. I don't know. Do they have a hotel there now? Do you guys know what it's like there now? I know it's funny. I've been seeing a lot of people going there lately that I know, but I haven't talked to them directly. So I don't know if you guys know anything yourself either. But
I don't know. Do you know?
No, not right offhand.
I know people stay outside of town. There are some friends that have gone down over the last couple of years.
Yeah,
I know there's a switching of hands here and there. There's a little bit of negative publicity, but then it was all taken care of, from my understanding. So,
okay,
it's on my bucket list for sure.
I see you getting there, brother. I really do.
I know, Grizz, you've been in there before, right?
No, I haven't. My mother used to work there.
Oh my God! Oh,
yes,
brave woman.
Yes, so
she must have some stories.
Yeah. So I used to visit her when I was a child before they closed it down. So I remember the high ceilings and getting gum out of the vending machine.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So very interesting.
Now, what about the death tunnel? Are you guys familiar with that part?
Yeah, she used to play in it when she was a child.
Really?
Her and her friend. Yeah. See, I lived right down the street from there when I was a child.
Okay.
And she did too. So it was very interesting.
And the death tunnel, for those that don't know that are listening, I mean, that was because the people were dying like crazy there, whether it was the tuberculosis, the mental institution. Wasn't it at some point, maybe I'm wrong if it was a combo of everything at one point, but people were dying so much. It was so depressing for the patients. They made that tunnel so they didn't see the hearse and the gurneys and all that all the time.
That is correct.
Yeah, just to kind of take that away. So yeah, kind of a sad thing, but
so you said you were in 6 documentaries where one of them was Waverly Hills. Was there anything on the other 5? And like I said, you're probably you're digging back in time on this. Was there anything in any of those other documentaries, places you went that really stood out with you?
Absolutely. Now the other ones. So here in Windsor, I mean, we've got some history as well, like any town. We've got some rum running history here with the great Al Capone. If you're familiar with that gentleman's name, of course, a gangster, well known back in the Prohibition days. So we got, even to this day, there's some underground tunnels for specifically the rum running. There was a building, and they've tore it down since. It was called A-Bars. And now A-Bars was attached to, there's a brewery that's closed down, but it's still standing. And I think there's a couple houses as well, but they're all attached to some sort of a wiring system. So, because the cops usually came by water, and what they would do, all these buildings there was a button. If someone saw the cops, they push the button, and then this light would go off, a red light or something, in every one of these buildings. So they knew that they had to get all the booze and everything out of there. Now, in the A bars that we were at, on the 3rd floor, this was pretty cool. There was actually a fake wall where when the cops came, they would hide everybody that was hanging out in the speakeasy, the hookers and all that sort of stuff. They'd hide them inside of the wall. And if you didn't know, like, it was amazing. Like, just like, yeah, check this out. I was like, are you kidding? Wow. And what was really neat, the stairs from that went down to the basement, the stairs were crooked a certain way. So if you worked there, you knew how the stairs were and you knew how to get down them. The cops, it was on purpose. So when the cops, if they were coming and chasing them, the cops would fall down the stairs. So that's some stuff I learned. Now there's a mansion in a town, like in the outskirts of, or a suburb of, it's called Amherstburg, Ontario. We called it the Derelict Chapel at the time. It's this mansion that also had a church attached to it. And it was a couple 100 years old. It still stands. It's right along the water. It's a beautiful white piece. It's boarded up now. You can't get into it. The city owns it now. At the time, my cousin knew the family that owned it. That's how we were lucky enough to get in there. But what you get retired soldiers from the like the War of 1812, that sort of thing, the British and the Americans and that sort of stuff. Those guys, retired soldiers would be in there, basically. Now, you had rooms inside of rooms, and there's footage of me in there. This is like one of my, back then, it was a pretty crazy experience. So we, like any investigator, as you know, you go around and you have your walkthrough at the beginning of the evening, if you will, right? So 3 a.m, it was my turn with my teammate to go into the basement. And there was rooms inside of rooms. You had a walk-in safe. You had a underground. They had a cellar in there. There's a massive fireplace. All this old limestone was the basement, which is a conductor for all that sort of stuff as well. Incredible. Now, I noticed a boiler room that I didn't notice in the walkthrough. I stick my head in the boiler room, and there's a copper pipe. It was hanging from the ceiling. And the weirdest thing, it was shaking, or vibrating, whatever. And I'm like, hello? Is anybody in there? And now the classic temperature drop, number one. But how about that? When there's an electric storm, you feel that static in the air.
Yeah.
I feel all that. And then I hear right here. Oh.
Wow.
That's it, dude. And my partner was a woman, and I'm not proud of this. I pushed her out of the way, screaming at the top of my lungs, and I'm running, and I got bad knees, and this is all on ER camera, and I'm running and screaming up this hall. It's pathetic to see, but I'm running for my life. It's like, it was incredible. Just, they had antiques everywhere in this place. So all of us, there was 6 of us, we all experienced this after the fact. We all dreamt about being back at that place. That place was calling us after the fact.
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, I don't blame you. I'd be running a little bit myself. I was in there's a place called McPike Mansion here near Alton, Illinois, and we were in the foyer. You walk into this big foyer. You can't really go around much of the upstairs because it's full of the floor's tore out in one room. They're trying to redo it, stuff like that, just rotting out the years. But I got it on camera. There's actually, you look up at the plaster had fallen down from the ceiling, really? But the boards were still there, and the ends of them are loose.
Okay.
And you could look up. Somebody caught it. It was moving. It was going like this. And I got on video. They're actually moving. If you get it at the right angle, you can see them moving. And we're asking it, hey, keep moving that. They move, and then we say stop. They'd stop, and then it'd move it again. And we're like, holy cow! And then all of a sudden we heard upstairs, which we know there was nobody else in the building. They're not even allowed around there, and the owner lives next door. And she went to bed already, and you just heard a slam, like somebody moved, or a screech across the floor, like somebody was moving furniture up there. It was That was
That's
pretty cool
awesome.
experience. But I'm like you. I was like, I'm gonna go outside. You know,
Right.
and then they have the huge basement. That, you know, it's back in the 1800s. They didn't have refrigerators, or you know, they had this big, just brick room. It's a beautiful room,
Yeah.
and that's just where they kept their ice. You know, but no, and sorry to interrupt. Just thought I'd share that experience with you.
I love hearing it. Are you kidding? You're not interrupting me at all.
Hey, so you know, you have a book out, right?
Yes, sir.
The paranormal experiences. So when I'm reading up on you about this, you know, you talk about. So let's start off with the communication, and you don't have to give away the whole book, right? Because you're selling the book, and you don't want to explain it all, right? But I'm interested in this communication from the dead with your father.
Okay.
Interesting.
So now the book itself, I call it Michael John's Paranormal Ghost Stories. May I show you the book real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So this is it here. This is available on Amazon. And there, like you're saying, there's multiple stories in here. So I'm going to say this. It's very important that everybody knows this. And I've experienced it so much. Spirit communication is real. And your intention is everything. Okay. My father passed away when I was 25. And, you know, that messed me up. And, you know, as you can imagine, with any of us going through that. So, I don't know, about a year went by, I guess. And then I don't know if you're familiar with the psychic. Her name was Sylvia Brown.
Yes.
So she was on a show, I believe it was Montel Williams. It was a big talk show at the time. And I overheard her say, when you talk to them, they hear you. Just like I'm talking to you gentlemen right now. Hey, Dad, how are you? How's the day going? It's a great day. Blah, blah, blah. You know, I was like, and she goes, you might feel weird at first, but get into the practice of doing it. And I was like, wow. Okay, cool. So I started doing it. Started asking them a couple questions every night before I went to bed. And I did this for a few months. And I mean, I wasn't super duper aware or paying attention to things. So I might have missed a few things back then. I wasn't ready. Let's say it like that. Perhaps there's so many, right? Anyways,
right.
The craziest thing, my brother-in-law, of all people, pulls me aside. I was living with my sister and my brother-in-law at the time. Michael, I had a dream. I got to tell you something, and you might think I'm absolutely crazy to tell you this, but I really feel I need to tell you. I had a dream. And in this dream, there's a bingo table in the middle of a room. And on that bingo table is one of the old style answer machines with a cassette tape in it. And it was flashing and it had one message. So I went over and I hit play on it. And it was Dad. And he said, hey guys, it's Dad. I'm calling to say I love you and I miss you. And I'm looking out for you. And I'm always here. And can you let Michael know? Yes. But not right away. And definitely not her. He goes, does that mean anything to you? And as you can imagine, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, oh my God, listen. And it's not like, you know, here I am, Tracy, saying, hey, Tracy, guess what I'm trying to do? Let's see what happens. Why would I tell anybody that? Why would you share that? So he comes through my brother-in-law, of all things, of all people, things. And I talked to a psychic a couple years later about that. And she said, you know why that happened that way was because if you would have got the communication yourself, if he would have came to you in a dream, if you would have experienced him some other way, somehow, you would have probably just fluffed it off as a coincidence and not even given it a second thought. You cannot dispute the fact it came through another human being and he answered both questions to the T. Anybody, I challenge anybody. You know what I mean? Well, someone can always tell you, no, you're crazy. That's just how this goes. But for me, again, I'm going to say what I started saying at the beginning. Intention is everything, and spirit communication is very real. And I got that from my father, and I continue to this day. Once a week, at the very least, I dream about him. Do I always remember them? No. However, one time, just this is humor me on this. So when my father Pat was dying, he knew. He said, at my funeral, I want a couple things. I want to. So we have Tim Hortons here. That's our big coffee here, and he's a huge fan of Tim Hortons coffee, double cream only, medium, and a cigarette. He wanted that on his coffin. Loves the Rolling Stones. Always blasted the Rolling Stones. I want the Rolling Stones' greatest hits to be playing at my funeral every day while everybody comes and visits till the day I'm buried. The 3 days. Okay, no problem. So I had reached out to him a little bit after, sometimes it's like, okay, well, I want that communication. So I learned, here's a big thing for everybody listening. You know what you say? You say, I give you permission. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're performing, if you will, let me say it like that. I give you permission. And things happen way quicker. They really do. So I gave him permission to communicate. And so later on that day, there's a Rolling Stones song on TV. Oh, I'm not thinking anything of it. It's funny how, you just kind of let it go. So I turn it up and I go, Dad, the Rolling Stones are on. And I know the song, of course, because I've heard them all, but I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
So the credits come up and the song is called, of all things, I Miss You.
Huh. Wow.
Interesting.
And again, that's where you got to be aware, right?
Right.
What do you think about that, Chris, with the communication stuff?
No, it absolutely do. And we talk about this in other shows, and people that don't pay attention misses the signs. And sometimes they come back and give you other signs because you're not aware. So yes, this actually happens. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's I've never reached out like that. One day I do plan to do that, right? With people that have separated in my life. But thank you for that advice. Definitely, that's a good way of explaining to people of things that you can do to try to get other people have left you back into your life.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Going to shift the gear a little bit here.
Okay.
ETs, extraterrestrial beings.
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts on that? It's been in the news a lot. It kind of died down for a little bit here, but what are your thoughts on the ET stuff, the aliens?
It's crazy. So when I was doing Spectral Solutions, when I part of the documentaries and stuff, I used to be a big fan of Ghost Adventures. That was my show for like 5 years. I loved it. And then when when the group disbanded, I started practicing. I can't even say that because it's not practicing what I've done or what I do. It's very haphazard, very reckless magic, whether it was voodoo, whether it was witchcraft. Again, let's go back to saying I was an addict looking for that quick fix. Oh, online. Oh, if you speak in Latin, draw some sigils, light some candles, light some incense. Again, intention is everything. You can conjure, you can evoke, you can invoke. So that's stuff I was doing. Now, to answer your question on that, so this is stuff I never. I got my okay. Sorry, you got to bear with me. Sometimes my plane will take off.
Oh, you're all right, brother.
Okay. So I got away from TV and I was just doing my own stuff. And of course, I was always intrigued by aliens and UFOs and that, but never to the point where I'd research it and that, right? So in the last couple years, I had my first sleep paralysis experience here in this apartment. A lot of things have happened here. I have dreams often where I'm in the same house all the time. I've never seen this house in my waking life. But man, I know the floors. I know the wood paneled walls. I know the rooms, the stairs. I know the diamond wood paneled windows. I've gotten outside of the house. I know the neighborhood. I know if I go right, what's going to be there. I know if I go left, what buildings, what businesses, etc. So when Dale and I originally started this show, there was 2 ladies that were with us. I'm having one of these dreams. I have a bracelet on, there's a cord, and I'm attached to one of these ladies. No sooner do I realize my dreams are as real, like so vivid. I don't know if it's out of body experience, if it's astral travel, or what the heck it is, okay, when these happen. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, again, a lot of people relate to this stuff that are listening, even yourselves. So she's gone. The cord's cut. She's gone. I'm in a forest, black as night, so black I can see the trees, like they're fern trees. I'll never forget this. And there's a 6-armed being in front of me. It's got to be about 8 feet tall. It's like, it's right here. It's engaging me. But it's got no features on its face, Grizzly. Okay?
Wow.
And I'm terrified, to say the least. And I'm trying to say, no, go away, get away. And I can hear, I sound like the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. I'm going, go away, like that. I can't open my mouth. And anybody's natural response, you want to punch it or something. And it's like I'm going through molasses, okay? I wake up and I'm shook, to say the least. I'm like, oh my God. So I called Dale, my partner, because I always document stuff, and you just, if it's weird, I just write it down or I tell someone, right? That's what I do. So now, and this is going to answer your question. There's a finish line, I promise. There's a punchline. So first time ever, I go to the UFO Contact Convention in Houghton Lake, Michigan. Now, during this conference, and at some point, they let people in the audience share. If anybody thinks they've had an experience or an encounter or something odd, please feel free. We'll come over with the microphone and you can share it with the room. There's a couple hundred people there. You know, it's not a little meeting, you know, kind of thing. So unaccustomed to public speaking as I am, I'm like, I'm going to share this story. Now, we got a panel up there. We got Andrea Perrin, if anybody knows who that is. Grew up in the Conjuring house, very connected with the Galactics. Amazing lady. Michael Carter from Ancient Aliens. If you ever seen him, he's got the dreadlocks in the TV show. Also, Deb and RJ DeRoos, who are longtime experiencers, been abducted more times than they care to mention, still happening to them. They are co-hosts of the UFO Contact Convention as well. Now, they're literally passing the microphone going, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that creature is. So now the host, a gentleman by the name of Tim Ellis, says, okay, so we're not sure what the creature is. And that's fine because there's so many races out there. Who's to say what this is and how many there are? There's too many to count. What's interesting and what happens to a lot of people, he says, is they have these dreams where it's a repetitive thing and the dreams are in the same place all the time. And here's where it gets interesting. So let's say I'm sitting here in my dream. This book is sitting on me. Mm-hmm. Every time I'm in that room or in that house, that book's on me. But for some reason this time, the book's not there. As brilliant as these beings are, as intelligent, as advanced as they are, they miss things. They can miss an outlet. They can miss a candle. Now, I've never been aware enough in any of these experiences to be like, okay, well, my cat's not in the dream this time, kind of thing, right? So that's what he says. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. So then Dale and I had a table there. We were vending, doing our show. Michael Carter comes over later and says, hey, he goes, Michael John, you're aware, you're an experiencer, right? And I was like, okay. So now, here's where, I keep saying it gets interesting, but it's just going to keep leveling up. And this is, wow. And again, this is something I never researched to the point, like I'm aware of it, but I've never gone out of my way on any of this stuff. I'm finding out stuff after the fact, which is incredible. I'm doing things and living my life certain ways. I was like, oh, well, that's what happens. And it's going to make sense as I go on. So I get to meet Andrea Perrin, and she does this. She offers certain people, and you're asked, hey, would you like her to open your third eye? And like I said earlier, I'm the guy. Oh my God, let's get on the Ouija board. Invoke. Let's try some hoodoo. Yeah, absolutely, I'm going to drink that Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I wanted. Of course, let's try it. So it was an amazing experience. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. If you ever get a chance to do it, I highly suggest, yes, do it for sure. She's a wonderful lady. Great experience. So, and then she asked me after, how do you feel? And I'm like, oh, I'm okay, whatever, you know. She goes, and they were telling me too before I did it, a couple of people, your life is never going to be the same, Michael John. Things are going to change. I was like, okay. You know, that's what we normally, yeah, sure. So now, maybe a month after this, here we go. It's dream time. I'm about 4 years old. I'm standing on the top bunk of a bunk bed. There's 3 beings in my bedroom. They have jet black hair. It's parted down the middle. And they're all wearing what looks like baby blue graduation gowns. Then I wake up and I'm like, what the heck is that? And of course, Dale, I had the weirdest dream. Oh my God. I'm not alluding that to anything that I just told you about, by the way.
Yeah.
Later on, now synchronicities are another thing. And it's not just numbers. It's not just numbers. It could be words, it could be people, place, and things, all in a day in succession. Michael Carter in my Facebook news feed, for some reason, has a picture of what sure looks like one of these beings from my dream earlier that day that I woke, you know, a couple hours later. So I'm like, Michael, what is that? Why? I had this dream and blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, that's cool. You know, he gives me a thumbs up. He's like, so it's hilarious. Yeah, that's great. He goes, anyways, that's one of the versions, there's multiple versions of the Palladians. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. Now, the bunk bed. A few days later, you know, you have that eureka moment. Oh my God. My sister and I, for me, from the age of 3 to 5, we had bunk beds. I always jumped on the top bunk. Now it's getting real. So Dale and I, we've been really lucky to get around and get to some conventions around Michigan. So I've been seeing psychics. I'm like, I want to get a reading, but I don't know. I don't want to go to someone that Grizzly knows or Tracy knows. I want to find someone that resonates with me that nobody knows, if that even happens. And I do. I sit down with this lady. She grabs my hand. She goes, don't say a word. I'm like, okay, I'm looking for the hidden camera. She just starts writing on a notepad, right? She reads it to me. And then she says, the Almighty, do you have any questions? Well, yeah. I had this dream. I don't even know if I can answer this. I had this really weird dream. There's 3 beings and this and that. That's where she says, well, you need a past life regression hypnosis or a regression hypnosis. Oh, okay. How do I do that? So she goes, well, I can do it for you. So we worked out something. And at that point, and here's where I told you things are happening now. And I don't know why I'm doing them, but it's like I'm meant to. So this woman's name is Mary Bassett. Sweetheart of a lady. Look her up. She's one of the hosts of a show called The Voices of Contact, where they analyze people that get regressions, abductees, all that. I got to be on the show a couple times because of what I've went through. Anyway, Mary also, for the last almost 10 years, has worked, you know, PTSD cases of abductees, of the police and that sort of stuff. It's like, I don't know this stuff. She works with MUFON, you know, Michigan, you know, that it's like, what is happening? So we have the regression. And the best I can recall, I'm sorry, I would have to actually hear it to give you perfect details. They took me through the wall, these 3 beings. I walked up a black and white tiled hallway with them. The classic bright white light at the end. It didn't hurt my eyes or anything. And here's what's interesting, by the way. I found out a few months back, black and white tiles are quite common for people being abducted.
Really?
Apparently. So we go through the light. I end up at some sort of a table with these three beings, and there's a fourth being now that's little like me, but that's the smart one, like if that even makes sense. And we're talking through telepathy. And I'm not one of them. I'm not some hybrid. I'm not a star seed. I'm nothing like that. But for some reason, according to them, they're interested in me, and they've been watching me for lifetimes. And we also find out, Mary has me ask, what was that six-armed being? And apparently, as terrifying as this was, this being is sent from them to protect me, which made absolute sense after the fact, because the other two ladies, I'm going to say this. I don't want to speak ill of anybody. They went on their way, and it was meant to be the way it is now.
Yeah.
I'll say it like that. So that was pretty incredible. But yeah, so they were basically, we've been watching you for lifetimes. And they asked me, or they said, oh no, okay. So they said, sorry, we want to make sure you're okay. And that in particular, I'm going to stop right there, because that sentence alone, at that age, I was beat up by a half dozen kids, a couple years older than me. One of those things, my sister happened to be nearby and ran up the street to get my mom. And of course, back when we were kids, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, you're okay, go lay down, go have a nap. That's how that was dealt with. And it's not anything on my family. That's just how you dealt with it. So it was interesting that they said, we want to make sure you're okay. So now I'm hanging out with Dale. I'm going to move forward a bit. Again, so, I mean, are you hearing, like, I'm sure you guys hear this. I mean, the synchronicities with Mary, even alone, or Michael Carter, I have that dream, and then boom, there's the creature, or one of the beings, hours later on a Facebook newsfeed of all places.
Yeah.
It's like things, it's just, wow, So I also mentioned, and I'm very candid, I don't mind, I had a 25-year cocaine addiction. I was in rehab twice. I attempted suicide twice. I spent time in the mental institutions. I was even homeless. None of this stuff ever made me want to stop doing that. I was always plotting and scheming. I couldn't wait to get out. It has shut off since, and I allude this to Andrea Parent. I'm not saying, that this is, yes, go to meetings, do whatever you're doing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is my own personal story.
Yes.
Please. I'm not, that guy saying, hey, yeah, but it's never in a million years. I always obsessed over it. It just shut off. It's gone. It's dead. I don't care, So Dale and I went for a ride like we do. We go out, drive out the county, and we'll talk and bounce ideas off each other, or just hang out. We've been, we're good friends forever. Sleep, all that, sleepovers as kids and all that. So we were talking. Of course, whenever I see tree lines, and you'll appreciate this, Grizzly, whenever I see a tree line, oh my God, I don't care the size of the tree line. Is there deer? Oh, Bigfoot. Oh, Dogman. For sure. If we went, we'll find signs for sure, man. Oh my God. Right. I drive Dale nuts. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we were doing that, or I was doing that. And he just listens, So we were also talking about wanting to learn remote viewing. Was a topic during the drive. So we get to a crossroads, and across from me on the left was a bakery, and it was called the Simple Bakery. And I commented on it, And I'm like, Dale, if you drive a little further up, my aunt and uncle used to live up that road. There's a graveyard right next to their house. Who doesn't love a graveyard? Mm-hmm. And then Dale goes, because I got, we like our synchronicities. Michael John, it's 4:44. I do this. Dale, how did we get back to the Sample Bakery? Now it's on that side of the road. Literally, like he says, it's 4:44, and it was that fast. All of a sudden, it was like, I don't know, it was like he spun. So I have a regret. Oh, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. So it was a quiet car ride for a bit. We were processing it. So now Dale is my Google. Like I say, I don't watch the shows. I love talking about it. I love hearing other people's stories. That's where my enthusiasm, that's where my passion is for all of this, right? So Dale is my Google. When I ask about a show or a person, he's like, oh, ABCD123. You know, this is Johnny Smith, and this is how long he's been doing it, etc. He's amazing. So now, why don't we call Deb and RJ from Houghton Lake, UFO Contact Convention? Of course, he's got him on speed dial in his car. So they answered, fortunately, and we told them what happened. And they're like, okay, it sounds like you lost time. Do this for us. Don't talk about it anymore. Once you're both home, write out your accounts. Do not collaborate. Email them to us. And then when you're done, send them to us, right? And then we'll all get on a video chat. We'll talk about it. So RJ gets on Google Maps and, I don't know, figures out coordinates, like, amazing. Well, you guys lost about he's like so precise, 13 minutes of time. And if I'm looking at this correct, you guys would have drove through farmland and homes to get back to where you were.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it just goes on. I mean, I had another regression. Dale did as well. But basically what they told him, Dale was basically put in a corner, put baby in the corner. He was shut off. He doesn't recall any of it. Whereas me, I get out of the vehicle and I walk towards, there's a white light, there's a wall of light blocking the road. There's a ship above, and it's 3 grays now, and they're all different heights. And it was, again, this is what's weird to me, and it actually terrifies me, is oh, you're doing really good, and we're proud of you. Just this constant praise, I'm afraid what's going to happen next, and we're not at that yet. I hope I don't get to that, and that's where a lot of people go through that horrible stuff. And you know what I'm alluding to. That's what I'm told. By other, don't worry about it. You've probably reached where you need to be. Whatever. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. So I go back on the Voice of Contact, and we go over the second regression. And then I do another show with them for someone else's regression. A few days later, I'm here in the apartment, and I do one of these, right? Oh my God. What is there not? And it's like a shadow being. You just catch it out of your peripheral. Most of the time, you just catch him. So it's a gray, and he's outside my window, and he's like, and I just catch it. Scares the heck out of me. Right away, I'm Mary Bassett. Oh my God, I just saw this, blah, blah, blah. And here's the punchline. I'm on the 3rd floor, by the way. Okay. So Mary's like, well, what did it look like? Send me a picture. I'm like, I'll see what I can find. I don't have a picture of it. So I look and I find something and I send it. She sends me back something that looks pretty close and is a lot scarier. It's not your traditional. It almost looks like a meaner version of a gray, if that makes sense. And then she sends me a page from a book. Now I'm going to back up. So at one of these events, I met a gentleman who's a starseed. His name's Mark. Instantly, and I mean instantly, I became best friends with this guy. 3-4 hour conversations on the phone. And I'm not a person who believes in God. However, one point I was having a bad day. He says, I want to do a love prayer over you, if you don't mind, through the phone, make you feel better. I was like, okay. And he's talking about Archangel Michael. And it was amazing because my cats came, I have 2 cats. They came out of nowhere and they laid down next to me while this guy's talking, doing this, which tells me a lot of the power of what he's doing. Mm-hmm. Now, this page Mary gives me, yes, you're going to start making drastic changes in your life for the better. Things are going to drop off that no longer serve you, if you will. and to increase your vibration. I've been having cold showers for over a year. That's what I do. It's the craziest thing, right? Number one. I'm eating better. I mean, I got back to the gym, like a lot of changes like that. But also on this page, it says they despise the name Archangel Michael. That's where my mind's getting blown. Again, these things I'm doing are happening in my life. I find out after the fact, yeah, that's what you're supposed to be doing, or that's what's going on. The black and white tiled hallway. What? That sort of stuff. Yeah. And again, so I hope I answered your question. What do I think about it? I think it's very real. It's not something, again, it wasn't my focus. My focus was on ghosties. My focus was on the Bigfoots. You know what I mean? And then Dogman became a real passion. I just find it so intriguing. I'm a huge fan. It's called Dogman Encounters Radio. I found it by mistake. Vic Cundiff's the host. I love it. People come on all the time talking about stories. So, yeah, so this all just showed up. And again, it wasn't anything I even gave a thought on, really. And here it is.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, that you explained it pretty good about your feelings towards the aliens and stuff like that, and no, that's very interesting to me. That's pretty cool. So let's move on a little bit here. We're running. We ain't got much time left. The paranormal voice.
Yes, sir.
Would you mind talking about that and maybe some interesting things that have happened on there for you?
Okay, well, that was something Dale and I. Originally, a friend of mine was supposed to come to me for an interview for another show, a YouTube channel, and we got talking with the two ladies, and that's how this became the Paranormal Voice. But it was Dale instead that came, and we just kind of went from there. And then we had our, we went our separate ways, and Dale and I continued on with it, and we created the new logo with the phoenix. Your cup rising from the ashes, bigger and better and badder, and just. With our passion is real. I mean, Stevie Wonder can see how passionate we both are about this. You know what I mean? As you guys are, you gentlemen are as well. It's been work, but I mean, we get a chance. We get to travel. We're going to be at the Midwest Parafest #5 in Toledo, Ohio, April 13th, which is this weekend. That's going to kick off our year. After that, we're going to be in Oxford, Michigan at the Body, Spirit, Mind event. That'll be our first speaking engagement for myself and Dale. I actually get to stand up and I'm going to talk about shadow beings as well. Dale's going to talk about the Paranormal Voice and how that came to be, just like your question. And then Dale and I will do a combo talk about spirit communication. Then we're going to be at, where else? Chaos Con. Of course, we have guests. We have Dave Schrader coming up this Sunday night. Oh, yeah. Be our guest on the Paranormal Voice. We're very excited to have him on. We've been chasing after that guy for a while. So, we finally hooked him, man. So, it's been incredible. The support we've been getting for this. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and also on KGRA Digital, which is a worldwide. It's on all the outlets, just like yourself, Spotify and iHeartRadio. I can't even think. I'd have to have it on a list in front of me. Sorry, but you guys know there's so many outlets. It's anything that's got streaming. We're pretty well on, and that's a replay audio 1 a.m. Saturday nights on KGRA. But our YouTube and Facebook is live as we do it. So, I mean, we're just rocking and rolling. I am working on a book #2. I've acquired a mask that I was told was haunted. And, of course, whatever. And sure as anything it is, so I've been dealing with that off and on. Lots of documentation, just lots. It's funny, a lot of things. You put your mind to it. You want to do it. Well, I don't care, again, if it's ghosties, if it's cryptids. You focus on it, you're going to get it. Careful what you wish.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
The best thing ever came from Toledo, Ohio is this guy right here.
Yeah.
Lived for 3 whole years. So, but no, hey, so I'm interested on tuning in to watch you whenever you do this. I tell you, somebody that you ought to consider interviewing and talking about the cryptids and the Bigfoot is Grizzly Chris.
Uh-oh, watch out.
Maybe
That's-
maybe he can make some time. You guys can have him on there. I'd come watch
100%.
that.
Yeah, we'll set something up in backstage there because we'll talk details in the back, but I'm definitely interested in getting both of you at some point in some sort of capacity. We were talking earlier backstage. That's what I was kind of getting at when I was kind of asking you guys questions about your own stuff. So yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what we do, man. I'm definitely interested to have you both on. That would be great. So,
okay. What do you think, Chris?
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. Been wonderful. And how's everybody find you, Michael, and reach out to you?
Okay, well, you can reach out to us. You can find me on Facebook at just Michael John. It's got the Paranormal Voice logo on it. We do have a Facebook group, the Paranormal Voice, Windsor, Ontario's own. It's a private group. So, you got to answer a couple questions, and then we'll let you on board with us. Also, we are on YouTube, which is just the Paranormal Voice. We are on Instagram. We're on the X as well. So you can find us on most social media sites, or you can just reach out to us directly at the Paranormal Voice at gmail.com for any questions.
All right. From coast to coast, around the world. Don't forget, we got a show at 9:00. We'll see you shortly, everybody. Thank you, Michael. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.